Today is Thursday, July the 11th, 2024, and welcome to episode 104 of Rural Reliance with Canny Couple. I'm Julia.
And I'm Aaron.
We are a small homestead family in rural Southwest Virginia that work every single day to merge homesteading and frugality, reducing our dependencies. And frugality for us is it's in our boats.
It is.
It has become so natural.
Well, and it feels like it hurts us to spend money.
It does. It does. It's gotten really bad. We've actually got to kind of get a handle of this, right? Because we're not wanting to spend money at all because of our nature at this moment. And you get that scarcity mindset. We're trying to avoid that while still living the life we want to live.
Exactly.
And last week we talked about getting innovative with your frugality. And today we want to kind of play off of that and keep working towards that, and why any cut you make to your budget to save money, to pay off debt, is important. Any cut, no matter how big, no matter how small.
And she was telling me earlier, that the idea from this one came off of the new trend saying small cuts does nothing to your budget.
It doesn't make a difference. So
it does.
I could cut off my coffee. I could cut out my lunch. And it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to pay off my $100,000 student loan. Well, let me tell you something. We paid off close to that amount.
We did.
It was pretty close to that amount. And I didn't go out for lunch. And we didn't stop and get coffees. And we didn't do any of this. So we were on top of our budget. Even at that point, we weren't even as good at budgeting then as we are now.
Right. It took us longer than, now per se. But we
had to learn.
Right, that's what I was going to say. We weren't great at it. We knew how to cut back on certain things. Like, when you talked last week about cutting back on your lunches and taking chili for years on end, it felt like.
But it worked for me. It worked for me, and it saved us so much money. Because $5, $6, $7, $8 a day for lunch, plus the gas to go and get there. People just think of the one thing. They're like, "Oh, well, you're just going to get lunch." No, you're having to take gas to go get the lunch, because around here you don't walk. You can't.
That's true. I mean, you get out of a big city setting, you're driving, 99% of your time. If you can walk, it's very rare, or there's a food truck set up right there.
There would not be food trucks in my parking lot. So we really want to stress the importance of creating margin in your budget. Margin is the lifeblood of your budget, of your paycheck. That is what makes you move forward. You have to create margin, and starting with a little bit. You just start with a little bit. But the thing is, you've got to start.
You do. And you might think, oh, I can't do it. There's nothing I can cut. Or did you go out to eat for lunch today? Or did you stop and get coffee on the way to work? Where did you decide to make an in-game purchase on some app at today?
Did you buy a $5 loaf of bread when you could have bought your flour, your yeast, your water, and made your bread yourself in 2 hours with the rice top?
Chose the cheaper of the options of bread.
Well, I would say make your own, because it's less processed.
I totally agree with that, but I'm just saying from a dollar perspective, if you have a choice that has bad ingredients in it for $5 or the same bad ingredients for $1, choose the dollar one. Even though
it's going to be the same. It really is. Yeah. It's going to be the same. I can't really tell the difference between most of the breads.
Very few. Maybe when you get to that $5 range, you would taste something. But I mean, you can't find $1 loaf of bread anymore. I mean, anyway, it would be like $1.70 loaf of bread.
It was $1.90.
Was it $1.90?
It's $1.90. It was $1.90. We've not bought bread in
as you
7 months, so we don't know. Okay, so we have to forewarn you. If you have a lot of debt, you're not going to see movement, but it's still important. So we want to stress out, it's still important. So you have to learn how to script, save, and create margin. And if you are not used to frugal lifestyle, if you're used to living a lifestyle where You are keeping up with the Joneses. You're spending money. You're going to get your hair done. You're doing all these things. This is going to hurt.
Oh, exactly.
It's going to feel completely different for you. It's not going to feel good because you're like, well, I don't get to do all the things I used to do. And you're going to have to really see the savings come into play. But we're not telling you to cut all out everything. We're telling you to start small. Start with 1 or 2 items that you can cut, because what you're doing is you're creating habits. A lot of frugality is creating a habit. Wouldn't you say? A lot. I was asking you what he's been paying attention. He's doing some math.
I was doing some math.
A lot of frugality is about creating habits.
It is.
It is. It's about creating habits to help you save money. So you look, you're like, okay, well, I could just make the coffee at home. How do I make sure my coffee's ready to go in the morning?
Yeah.
How do I make sure when we go yard selling, one of my jobs is to have the coffee ready. Have it ready for Aaron to plug it in, turn it on in the morning.
That's the first thing I walk and do.
He does. He's like, coffee. Turns it on. Turns it, and we have coffee before we leave. And it works really well for us. This is how we save money. If we don't get coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's done some math.
So I've got this debt reduction calculator that we used to use pretty consistently.
We used it every couple of weeks.
Right. So it's great. It was great at doing some math on it and just figuring out, okay, what if we did changes? So let's say you had a $50,000 loan right now with a 5% interest rate and $1,000 payment, and you pay $1,000. Well, I forgot to put in the wrong month. And let's say you started on it this month. You wouldn't pay that off until April of 2029 at the moment. Just making that $1,000 payment.
I think with $50,000 though, most people don't have $1,000 payment on that. It's probably lower.
It might be, but I was just doing for easy math.
Yeah.
And you would pay $6,184.57 in interest.
At 5% interest.
At 5% interest.
And we know that's kind of unheard of right now.
Right. So let's say you're able to put an extra $50 a month. That would bring you back to January of 2029. And interest down to $5,849.
That's pretty good.
Just an extra $50 a month.
It helps. It does. Anything you do. And when you can see those numbers, like we loved the Snowball. This was given to us from a friend where I worked. And it was one of the best things I ever used. And I gave it to Aaron and he
ran with it.
He ran with it. We would do it all the time when we had any payments. So we would be looking at this and when we were really ramped up. We were paying. God, how often were we looking at this thing?
Quite often.
But you could find them anywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, if you were able to make it to $100 extra a month, $5,548 of interest, and brings you back to October of 2028.
So it does make a difference.
It does.
It does make a difference. It's not going to feel like a drastic difference, but you're going to start to see your months come down.
Exactly. We started out very small payments.
We did.
I will say ourselves on like your student loan.
We were doing the minimum at first.
We were doing the minimum and realized that it was kept going up because the interest was bringing in more than making
way more than the minimum payment.
More than minimum payment. So so that was why we.
It took us a couple of months to figure it out, and then once we did, we were like, okay, let's just start hitting this, and that's what we did. And then we had an opportunity. This was one of the other things that we did. We had an opportunity to actually refinance a student loan somewhere else, which got our interest down by 2%.
Yes.
Which was rare. We had not seen anything like that before.
No, and I don't.
I haven't seen it since then.
I haven't seen anything.
But our local credit union, we happened to catch it in one of their little flyers that they would
They were trying to bring people in with their student loans.
They were. And now our credit union is actually offering student loans.
Right.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So it's great. More debt for people. So let's talk about why this is so important. So again, even little bits, they help. But the big thing is you have to start with frugality. You have to start.
You do.
And the main reason why is you're going to start building your muscles.
Building the repetitiveness, building, the processes.
Frugality is not natural.
Mm-mm.
If he wasn't with me, I don't know how frugal he would be. He wouldn't be this extreme. You would be a bit more, but you wouldn't be as deep down this well as I would you?
I'd probably starve, so I would be eating out more. So that's definitely true.
You do eat chicken and salad.
Well, that's true. I ate a lot of salad.
A lot of chicken, but it's gone high.
I know.
So you're teaching yourself to be more mindful about your spending. And once you start opening that book, turning those pages, it's really hard to close it back.
Yep.
It's really hard because it just, you get an endorphin rush when you save money. When you get that good deal, you're like, I was able to cut our budget by this much. When I talk about how proud I am of our grocery budget so far for the year, I'm not doing it in a way that, like, I'm boasting. I'm doing it because I didn't know how well I could do this. I was hopeful, but
I will say last year when we went down from the $500 to $300 a month, I looked at her and thought, okay, you're crazy, but whatever.
He didn't think I could do it.
I didn't think we could.
He didn't think I could do it. And I didn't know if I could do it. But this was a goal of mine. And I've stuck to it. And I've dealt with it. And I have found there are holes in my pantry and in what we do. And I have to find ways to fill those holes, which we're trying to talk about a little bit.
Well, but some of those holes are because we're trying to go more non-processed.
They are. But it gives you a feeling that you're helping your family. And this has been a way I've really been able to help us and keep our budget low. Yeah. I've been able to actually lower our budget for our family because I'm being so mindful with our grocery budget. Yeah. So even if you could cut just a little bit off of one area of your budget, like say you go out 3 times a week. And I know that's crazy for a lot of frugal people out there, but some people really do go out 3 times a week. They say the minimum order of fast food right now is $30.
That depends what state you're in. Let's even just say our usual out for us. It's like
about
say $15.
So, yeah, 16. I would say 16.
So 16 times about 3 days, that's $48 a week right there.
$48 a week. Say we cut that down to one time a week that we're going out to eat. So that would be $16 minus 48.
So that gives you $32 a week right there.
Multiply that by 4.
A month, that's $128.
See how much that helps?
Yep.
Now take that $32 and multiply it by 52 weeks.
Now this is when you get big savings. $1,664.
Most people are spending more than $15, $16 when they go out to eat. I'm just going to say that.
Most people are not doing the $4 or $5 meals, you know.
I mean, and we don't always either. No. But we don't eat out very often.
Right.
So it really can start to add up, and that's my next point. Your savings or your debt repayments can really add up. Aaron just did the math to show you that even adding an extra $50 can help cut down on the interest you're paying, and also the amount of time you're paying it off. And you have to think of it, you're not getting the interest back on these payments. You're paying them to somebody else. So we're not financial advisors or anything like that. So take our word for what it is. But I'd rather be paying myself. I'd rather that money go into my pocket. I would rather that money go towards our homestead, into, our structures, anything like that.
Or into savings or retirement.
Right. So you really start to see them add up. And the more you build on them, the more they can grow and build if you're doing retirement, whatever you're actually doing. Aaron, he's all about watching the money grow as we save it.
I know you're not supposed to, But I do track this on a bi-weekly
He
perspective.
does. But he probably looks at it more than that.
Well, I look at one of them more than that. Well, two of them, actually.
So, he has some play money.
See, let's just say what I did was we have a set amount in the budget. This is actually in the budget.
It is. It's in the budget.
But it's an investment at the same time. So, $50 a month that either goes into a commodity or a stock. So, it could either be silver, gold, like is a good example, or it could go into a stock, which has been what it has been most of the time.
Yep.
And for example, I put 4 months worth, $200 there at January. By May, it had grown to $260.
Which we're okay with.
Yep.
I mean, all we're wanting to do is see a return. And this money, if it goes down, it's okay.
Yep.
It's okay because this is for Aaron to play with. But if we were on a bare bones budget,
this wouldn't be
there.
It wouldn't be there.
It wouldn't be there.
It would be used for bills.
It would be used for our bills. So this is play money that we have built into our budget, and as you can see, this is one of the things like, and Aaron's able to keep adding to it and build to it and build on because we have those sinking funds set up for that.
Right. Well, I was gonna say even another example is, let's say you're able to save $100 a month, and you don't have debt, but you put it in a savings account. A lot of savings accounts right now, the better ones are offering like 4.5% interest.
Some of them are offering 5%. You have to look.
You got to look around. Some are offering less as well, but 4.5% right there. That gains you $4.50 a month. Let's say you took that $4.50 out every time too. At the end of the year, you'd have $54 right there.
So it does really start to add up, and it does help. So every penny matters. Every penny matters.
It does.
It really does. And once you just set it and forget it and just let it keep growing on its own, that's really the key. You just set it, forget it, and let it grow on its own. If you're in a place to do that. Now, it's really hard if you're in a lot of debt, and I know a lot of people right now are. Mm-hmm. A lot of people our age are.
Yep.
Because of student loans. They've bought the houses that are massive because that's what people have wanted. They wanted the great big houses. They wanted all this stuff, and people are in they're in big debt.
Right.
Car payments and all of these things, and trying to find a way out of the hole that they're in. And
it's tough.
It's tough. So just, you gotta start hitting it slowly. You're picking at it. Like, that's really what you are. You're just digging with a small shovel, and you have to make your shovel bigger with side hustles and other things and cutting back on the budget.
Right. And I mean, some of those things, like we talked about cutting back before, easiest things to cut back on are, eating out. I mean, eating at home costs a lot cheaper. I know some people says it doesn't anymore.
It does.
But if you do it right, it can. And maybe you're going out an extra couple of times for entertainment twice a week or something like that. The gas and the entertainment expenses, you probably could cut that back, something as well, and you don't need 50 streaming services.
No. There are options.
Yep.
You just have to figure out and find what works best for you and your family. Small cuts help you learn to be more creative, innovative, and thrifty with what you have.
Yes.
So this is where I feel like I'm starting to come alive a bit with our frugality, because I have found that with homesteading and homemaking for me, I'm having seasonal issues with doing them both.
Yes.
Because I don't know how in the summertime all these homemaking moms who are homesteading have the time to be in the garden and do all the garden things every day and stand out there and look at their chickens for hours on end every day and then come inside and bake bread and do all these other homemade foods. I don't have that bandwidth.
No.
I do not have that bandwidth. I don't know where that time would go or comes from, between maintaining the house, the little one, everything else that needs to be done on the homestead, I'm starting to see that I've got seasonal homesteading and homemaking issues. One of the real big issues in our household is snacks. This is one of the big things.
Well, it's because we're moving away from those processed foods.
We are. We're moving away from the processed foods, but they cost more too. They keep going up in prices.
They do. I mean, that's one of the things as well. You know, back before, it was Dollar Tree.
Saltines you can't get for $1.25 anymore.
Well, we've seen them a couple times. Actually, one of the local grocery stores actually ran a deal this year for like 59 cents.
Oh yeah.
But you know,
we're trying to get to where we're making these things ourselves.
Right.
So one of the things I have to plan to do is I have to plan during the winter months whenever I have more availability inside and I can heat the house up. That's the other thing. Seasonal, I don't want to warm up the house because we're trying to save money on our electric bill by keeping our house cooler during the day. So I'm having to learn how to manage that and work through that. I'm going to have to make crackers and other snack items, few ingredients, in the winter time to stockpile for the spring, summer, and the fall. Because that's what I'm seeing. What it's going to do is going to save us a lot of money.
Right. And honestly, I could live off saltines.
He could.
You know, like before, like we had some. That's what I, was finishing off on was saltines.
He can add sauces, anything he wants to.
That's just all the snack I need.
It really is, and he's worked really well with that. He could dip them into a hummus, into a dip, anything like that really works for Aaron. I'm more of a meat craver for snacks, so I would rather have jerky and things like that. That's a little bit harder for us to source, but I'm hoping this year we will be able to take care of that. But you have to be thrifty. Like, how can I do this to save money? Because I spent probably $30 last month on crackers, and we got it for a really good deal.
We did. These were some natural ones or whatever, and we got them at a discount store, which they were in date. I guess nobody wanted because they were natural type of crackers. But we got those, and then you can those.
Well, I didn't can them. I sealed them.
You sealed them.
I put them in jars and sealed them for longer use. Right. And that will get us through, being careful. That gets us through, but it's not enough. It's not enough for Aaron and the little one to have crackers every day. I have to kind of manage and maintain that. So it's just one of the things that I'm working on. But I'm having to get thrifty, and I'm having to get creative, and I'm having to be very thoughtful on how I'm doing these, because my goal is in a couple of years to lower my grocery budget even more.
Well, we hope grocery prices don't go up even more, because then it might be harder to lower.
We hope. Well, we're starting to see people, they're talking about, people are getting fed up. They're getting fed up with grocery prices not going down. And they keep going up.
So, and that's one of the things, that $6 box of cereal, don't buy it. They'll eventually lower the price on it, if everybody stops buying.
Well, you can make some cereals homemade. Yep. That's another thing I have to learn how to make, or some cereals to have homemade. I'm doing the making myself, and it's just one of those things that I'm going to be learning, so my skills are going to be growing in that area, but I'm also giving my family something I feel good about them having. When you learn small cuts, big cuts, any cut you make, you're going to learn what you can live without, what you can't live without.
Back to your wants and needs.
So if you're going out buying tools every month, or getting your hair done and your nails done and all these things, you're going to see what you really want. What do you really, really want to have? Like, what gives you joy, it makes you happy, and all of those things. It can't be everything. If you're trying to get out of debt, you might have to make some cuts.
Yep.
But we're not telling you not to do the things that you love to do or you want to do.
Maybe every couple months.
Or you just do one versus two. I would say, can't buy every tool that comes out. You're going to have to, budget for that tool.
Many tools that comes. You'd have to budget for a long time.
You have to budget for a long time. They're getting more expensive. They're getting so much more expensive. But you're going to learn what's important to you and your family. That's what the real thing is. Or you can find an alternative way to do it. Learn how to do your nails at home. learn how to cut hair at home, all of these things.
That's a great example, is cutting hair. So you cut my hair, and you learned on the fly.
I did.
And we used to pay what?
$12.
$12. I'd have to get it done every
6 weeks.
6 weeks. So let's see here. 52 divided by 6.
He likes the math here.
And then times that by is like $12. Like $100 right there.
My clippers were paid for.
Paid for.
Clippers and good scissors.
Yep.
But I was coming home. We were having to fix his hair.
We were. It was the bad thing. Like, like this side's longer than this side.
I would have to fix his hair. So I was like, I'll just do it. I'll just learn how to do it. And that's what we did. I bought a few things I thought would help make it a little easier. Slowly. We've done this slowly.
Yeah.
And now we can do haircuts anytime. Now for me, I get my hair done. I go get a haircut, but it's like every 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
And it's $40 to $50 every 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
So I think it's okay.
Right.
But you learn what's important for you and your family. And maybe that cup of coffee is the thing that brings you the most joy every morning. And instead of, for some people it is. Some people it is.
Well, let's say you had the $6 Starbucks or the 50-cent gas station one. The 50-cent gas station one can get you by too.
You're thinking like we do. We have to be understanding. A lot of other people don't live like we do, babe. We're saying these things because like this, what's important to you, what's not. We don't spend money on ourselves. I've been needing a new Fitbit for months now. For months. And we've talked about it. Yeah. And I'm like, I really need to order this. I really need to get this because I miss it and I want it. But it's so hard. Yeah. It is so hard for me to actually spend the money to get it. So most people don't live like that.
Yeah, but $5.50 difference on a cup of coffee, even if it's that much better.
We would make that sacrifice, but there's a lot of coffee snobs out there who would say we're crazy and they would not drink our coffee.
That is true.
So you have to look at it that way. And if you're a coffee snob, I say that in the kindest of ways. I really do, because we're not really. We like our coffee. We love our coffee.
We do.
And I'm very picky. I don't like a lot of different flavors, but I do like some. So it's just one of the things. Being frugal and making cuts. One of the other things this teaches you how to get to a bare bones budget.
It does.
It does.
I mean, that's something you always have to have in the back of your mind as well as a bare bones budget. A what if scenario,
We go through this periodically.
We do.
We go through it periodically. I will have him print out the budget, and I'm like, this, and we know what that budget is. And It makes me feel better to know how much we would have to have every single month.
Yeah.
It really does. It makes me feel better. It makes him feel better.
It's been a while since we've done it. It's probably something we actually need to.
It's been about 6 months, 7 months.
To do again, And I know we've talked about it as well. One of our upcoming podcast episodes we're going to do is revisiting our goals that we set in January. So, always looking at a bare bones budget during that time when we're thinking about our goals is probably a good idea as well.
Because we change. You change. And you might feel like, well, this thing, it might not be important, but you might realize, I can't live without this. Like, I need this little thing that I pay for every single month, whatever that might be. I have to have this. This has to be in my bare bones budget, whatever that might be.
Hot sauce.
Probably. I would say for us, it probably is.
Hot sauce is probably on there.
Hot sauce is on there. Yep, I can't do without that. Whenever you learn to be frugal and make any cuts, it's a great way to accelerate your short-term goals. So if you cut out entertainment and all the extra savings from that for 3 months, that's 3 months of savings you can put towards a short-term goal.
Yep.
So say you need to get a AC unit to go in your window to help you combat this heat, and you're not going to be able to get it this year, but you need to work towards for next year, because You know what? When the fall comes around, guess what's going on sale?
Air conditioning units.
Air conditioning units.
Because they don't want to hold on to them till the next part of the year. And see, that's another good thing about your frugality. You've got to think of when do these things achieve their lowest point if you're trying to buy something.
Yep. So you want to catch holiday sales, all of these things, and you start to learn that as you're going down this frugality roll. You're making these cuts, but you know you can make this cut. And you're like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice this $300 that I spend every quarter on whatever this is, and I'm going to take that $300. I'm going to set it aside, and whatever you're looking for goes on sale, I'm going to buy it, and I'll have that money aside. I'm not going into debt for it. It's there. The cash is there, and it's accelerated, and you're going to feel so much better because you pay for it in cash. You do look at things differently when you view any transaction as a cash transaction, even if you're using a card.
Right. So that's what we do.
A card is cash.
A card is cash to us.
A card is cash.
A card is a tool that we use to get more percent back, is the way we look at it. But everything is paid off on time, full amount, everything like that.
It's a way for us to complete a transaction.
Right. We do not gain interest on any cards.
No. And we have just learned to physically view, when they say you spend less with cash, you do. But your mind needs to shift to think this card is cash, because it's what it's, I mean,
right.
Everything's going that way.
If you got $500 in your checking account, you're like, oh, I'm going to go out and buy this $1,000 thing. You can't. You don't have that money in your account.
You have to know what you have. You have to be on top of it and everything. And when you start making cuts, you start to see these things.
Right.
You start to see these things. When you're saving for goals, you're paying off your debt, you're going to be more attuned to your budget and the money you have coming in and out than ever before.
Yeah.
And then once you're debt free, you're going to be even more attuned to what you have coming in and out than ever before.
Well, then, because you've got more margin.
Just so much more
you're
margin.
You're like, okay, I've got this extra $800 a month now, or $1,000 a month. You know,
or
where
even
I'm
more.
not right.
Where I don't have a mortgage.
Don't have, you know, anything like that is money. Then where you don't want to have lifestyle creep, you know, come in. You don't want to.
That's probably one of the biggest issues with, you know, working through frugality.
Right, because then that money needs a new purpose, not, you know, $1,000 in groceries a month.
That's actually low for a family of 4.
Yeah, well.
According to the statistics, they say for a family of 4, it should be $1,200 for groceries.
I mean,
you could spend it.
You could, especially if you're going to like a club store and just buying large amounts of stuff, you know,
without
checking, you know.
But we buy from them occasionally, but we buy very specific items that I've price checked across all boards and made sure it's worth it.
Yeah.
So, but that's just how we work. So we hope this really helps you see that, you know, any cost really does make a difference.
It does.
It does. And for people out there who are saying, that's not going to make a dent in my $100,000 debt. Yes, it does. It will. It just takes a while to get there. And getting out of debt, it's so fast to jump into it. It's very hard to get back out.
It is.
It is. And the system is built to keep you that way.
It's very much so. They're like, oh, we can get more people into debt the more money companies make.
Because the interest. And the longer you stay in debt, the more interest they get.
Right. I mean, even, let's say you're saving a penny a day doing something. It's $3.65 a year. If you do that for 20 years, that's $73. Let's say you invested that $73. You know, it might go up, might not. Nothing else. It's cash, emergency cash to have in your savings account.
Or money to give your grandbaby.
Exactly. I mean, anything like that. I just actually read an article where it was very unusual for I haven't really heard a financial advisor give this type of advice before, and it was, would your kid rather have the money now and help them at this point in their lives, or when they pass? And they said, how much of that money right now could make a difference in their lives of getting them going, getting them out of debt right now?
That's actually becoming more of a conversation. It is, because millennials are in debt. Millennials and Gen Z are in debt. Because that's becoming a big, this is a big point. It's a big issue. For us, we feel like, we chose to go into debt. Well, Aaron didn't choose student loan.
I had debt.
You had debt.
Mm-hmm.
But we chose to go down those paths. We didn't know what we were doing.
No.
We had no clue.
Mm-mm.
But we did it, and we made the decision to get out of it on our own.
Right.
And we pushed through, and we worked hard, and we both worked. And then now we're at a place where we are debt-free because we made those little cuts. We made those little decisions that saved us money.
Yep.
Those little decisions save you money.
Sometimes those little decisions, though, if you're trying to save too much, might hurt you as well. Like, oh, I'm going to buy this $5 item versus this $100 item. Yeah. And then you have to go buy the $100 item later anyway. You've got to do your research and analysis.
Right. But I'm talking like buying lunch out, getting the coffee, making extra trips out to the grocery store every day. To pick up an item that you forgot, stopping at gas stations every morning, or when you go on family trips. Like when we go on a family trip,
we're prepared.
We are prepared. We have learned, even going to the grocery store, we have to take extra water for the little one because she's going to go through the water we bring for her in that 20-minute drive.
Yeah.
Within 20 minutes. So she's going to need more water. We've learned that from experience. So what do? We take water. We take jugs of water. We take probably a gallon or two, depending on how long we're going to be out. We have snacks. We have food. We have everything that we need. So we don't have any unplanned expenses.
Right. We don't want to have to stop at that gas station and pay for water or a snack.
I mean, if we had to, we could.
We could, but we plan not to, and that's like a way of saving for us.
It is. It is because we think ahead.
Yep.
So this is just one of those frugal habits that we've built into ourselves. So it's just, frugality is about changing your habits.
It is.
It is 100% changing your habits. And we're not telling you to deprive yourself or not live the life you want to live. We're just saying if you got goals, you might have to make changes, and they might hurt at first. But once you get used to them.
I will say, for us, it probably hurt at first. We were like, okay, how are we going to do this,
Yeah, well, do you think so? Because I think we went so slow into it. We could have probably went faster if we would have done better.
Maybe.
Because our grocery budget was really high when we first got together.
It was.
It was way higher than it was now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was way higher. And, I mean, like, our gas bill wasn't any higher. Like,
it's probably lower.
It's probably lower, but I have continuously forced him to push this up because of the price of gas. Our electric bill was probably lower. We've had to continuously push that up.
Well, we have, yes. But it is one thing, we've cut down on the amount of wattage we've used, even though the bills were cheaper before.
The bills were cheaper before, yep. And so it's just things that we've had to learn to adjust, and we've learned as we went. Well, nobody's going to be perfect as you first do this. This is not a sprint.
No, it's a marathon.
It is. You learn through it as you go, but even the tiniest change, once you build that in and you start to see it, you can use it as a motivation to the next change. They say once you pay off one credit card, you get motivated to pay off the next. So I'm saying once you start to see your savings, see the cash you can set aside, that will help you and motivate you if you look at it like, man, this is just so... I had to buy chicken. I know I was going to be buying some convenience chicken for the end of this month. Aaron found a coupon, so we saved a huge amount of money on the chicken we were already going to buy this month.
Right.
And
so, for example, we got back $20 in savings on Ibotta here last weekend. Mm-hmm. Last weekend? Mm-hmm. Or weekend before?
Last
weekend. Which is unheard of for us in Ibotta. and it was something we were going to get. It was something we needed. So, make sure to check those other things for other ways of savings. Ibotta, the receipt apps, anything like that can bring in some extra money to give you a little extra room.
You just need that boost.
Yeah.
You need the boost up. So, what would you say is the one thing that we have done the most successful of all these?
I will say it's probably having these sinking funds to create like an emergency budget or so. Because if we hadn't had those type of things for a lot of times, even with the debt we were trying to pay off, we wouldn't have had that extra cash to do it. And sometimes it was making these small cuts. Might be, okay, Aaron's not going out to eat at work anymore. Aaron is putting that $20 into an emergency fund, which we built up and have that available,
That was actually one of the things he kept.
It
was. And you kept it for a really long time when we got together.
Yeah.
You would go out to eat every once in a while.
I would.
And then I started making his lunch a couple of years ago, and that's worked out really well.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I would say it's getting thrifty, figuring out different new ways. Now, I understand this becomes harder when you have less bandwidth. And because I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
Right now, my bandwidth it feels kind of low. It's very thin. It feels low. I'm feeling very overworked, but it's my season, and I'm trying to find ways to get creative with our budget, not go over budget, make sure everybody's still happy and satisfied. And I'm managing it. I might not be managing it well, but I'm managing it and making sure everybody's taken care of. But I know, and I've learned, I'm going to make adjustments going into the future. And I've already started doing the research and the math into that whenever it's too hot for me to work outside or do all this other stuff. I can do the math and the research and figure these other things out that I need to start working through.
Yeah. Well, if you got any comments, questions, you can either leave those down below on YouTube or send it to thecannycouple@yahoo.com, and make sure to go over and check out our link tree, which has links to all of our other content on any other social media site you can probably find. And if there's one that you want us on, leave that below in the comments as well.
And as always, thank you for joining us on Rural Reliance with the Canny Couple, where we work hard, live simple, and enjoy life. Have a wonderful day.